Yo, boys and girls, what's going on? It's Tom.
And it's Jamie. Welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast.
The Chronicles of Bloodstock 2023. Well, first things first, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your insanely busy schedules to sit and chat to us for a little bit. It's graciously appreciated.
Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Not at all. You know, obviously we were hoping to get hold of you actually at the festival itself, but I know things were just absolutely crazy and whatnot. So we're happy we can finally sit down now and get you guys. So first things first, how are you both? Are you well?
We're good. I'm good. Adam?
Busy, yeah, busy good, but yeah, good, happy. Looking forward to Halloween, which is the next one, and then Christmas, and then Easter, and the festival. Yeah, and then the festival. Yeah,
the next date on the calendar.
Yeah, I live for moments, as you can tell. There's generally 5 in the year, so.
Literally, he's only got Halloween, bonfire night, Christmas, and then he's done this year. He's not interested in anything else.
Oh, no, apart from Bin Day, which is Thursday. So.
This is how rock and roll we are.
Are you that guy that the neighbours wait for you first to put your bin out so they know?
You know what I did tonight? It's actually Bin Day Thursday, and I got my days confused, same as Vicky did. I went to put the bin out earlier on, wheeled it to the top of the drive, then realised nobody else had put their bins out. Then it was like, oh God, it's Tuesday. Then wheeled it back down again.
Should have thrown the whole street off.
Yeah, someone in the window like, have you seen him? What's he doing? What's he doing? Look at him!
Yeah, we got the bin out.
It's because everyone's checking their phones. They're like, no, we've got the right day, hasn't it?
Hey, I probably shouldn't talk about bins while I'm on a podcast. It's not the best thing to do.
No,
is it?
you shouldn't.
No,
Good point.
Also, can I just commend you for saying Halloween, not spooky season? We're not Americans here, so the amount of people that have adopted that term does my head in.
It's spooky.
It's always been Halloween.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, I think because of the generation of TikTok and social media, people now call it spooky season. If they're outside of America, then we need to stop that. Let's put an end to that.
I don't understand TikTok.
Ruining it again, you see, making it silly.
We give them a language and they completely abuse it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Start making up their own words. Anyway. How was your festival this year? I know it was 2 months ago now, but any particular highlights for you guys? Anything that stood out for you, or just fantastic in general?
To me, it's fantastic. I mean, it sounds awful thing to say. It's always a bit of a blur because you're so busy, you don't always get a chance to take it in. So people always say to me, particularly, I'm sure they say the same to Adam, what bands did you see? You'll be surprised how many we don't get to see because you're running here, there, and everywhere. As far as the festival went, it was a huge success. I'm always blown away by the fact that 20,000 people put their absolute faith in us as organisers, who are still winging it 22 years down the line, that they come every year and they know they're going to have a good time. And it was just a great weekend again. Adam?
I absolutely agree.
No, I echo the sentiment. You know, the biggest thing for me, I think, is, you know, every and do the same thing every year. You go on stage and just look out at the audience, you know, just pre-headline set or something, and to see all of those people turn up for something that you've kind of, you know, rustled together with a great team behind you and in front of you and at the side of you, I think is awe-inspiring. I think bands-wise, I saw 2 tracks from U-High, and that was it. So that was my sort of highlight of the weekend, because I didn't get to see anybody else. But yeah, it was great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and again, just a massive thank you for having us. We absolutely loved it. It's just good. I've never been to a festival where you just feel so safe. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's got such a massive family feel, and I'm not saying it's because you're here. I'm just as genuine. Like, just I better suck up to them somehow.
Bet you say that to all the festivals.
Jamie, don't tell them.
It's good that you
genuinely
felt like that, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, with the current state of affairs at the moment in the world.
Yeah.
Like, everyone gets to be just themselves. They get to be them, and it's just a beautiful thing. This is only my second year, but my God, it's incredible. Yeah, I think you've done a superb job.
I think it's nice that people can be unapologetically them, you know, without compromise, without concern of, you know, any kind of judgment or you know, angst from anybody else. You know, and I love to see people just being who they are. You know, because it's allowing people to be true to themselves, and that's a rarity in this modern society. People, you know, especially with social media and everything being visual, and you know, you put yourself out there, it's recorded in time forever. I think it's nice that people can go somewhere and just literally be exactly who they want to be, and that's a lovely thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It is, and you saw that of people in the crowd, you know, just dressing how they want to dress, just enjoying themselves. Like one of the bands we spoke to, I didn't see this person, he said he saw a guy walking around in a dog mask and his girlfriend had him on a lead. That's how they want to live their life, and they got to do it. There was another guy dressed as a tin of Spam. If that's how you want to live your life, fair enough, mate. But he did.
Love Spam. Yeah. I love Spam. To be fair, I didn't see that, but I love it. I love Spam. I wish I'd seen that. I'd have literally shook him by the hand. The thing is, that's the cool thing. If you like people watching, Bloodstock is great for that, because you can just sit, have a beer, whatever, you know, and just look at and there's some amazing outfits. I love doing that at the festival. Obviously, because we do things like have the fancy dress side, people really make an effort. It's a really good vibe.
It is. And I love that fact. I know the term gets used a lot, and I've said it here, and it got used a lot to the festival, the Bloodstock family. Because it is like everyone just feels like a big family there and trusts each other to just be themselves around each other and look out for each other. Yeah. And as well as that, there's literal families there. Like one of my highlights from this year was turning around and seeing a woman cradling her baby while rocking back and forth to Meshuggah. I was like, that is one of the best things I've ever seen.
And that's how it should be, though, isn't it? Yeah, you know, that's what as a metal community we should be about. And that's what we, you know, as far as Bloodstock's concerned, and everybody that attends, that's the sort of feeling we want everybody walking around with, exactly what you've got, you know. So if we can all do that and we can all go to a festival and feel that way, then we're winning, aren't we?
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%. Yeah. But before we get onto the Sophie stuff, the 24 announcement, like it's unbelievable. And I actually genuinely love the fact that you have someone come out on stage and go, "You ready? Here's next year for you." You know, I've never seen that happen before either. I think it's incredible. I'm always like, "Oh, well, who's next?" And then obviously seeing architects up there in Malevolence was like, "Oh my God, it's going to be unbelievable."
That's on Vicky.
We are, to be fair, one of the first festivals and only festivals, I think, in the UK that announce at the festival. So we only started that a few years ago, but it's great to have that vibe where you're probably, you know, as much as looking forward to this year's festival because you're there, suddenly getting that countdown and seeing the next 10, 15 bands for the next year. People love it. It's like, and I and Simon, we do everything we can to get as many bands as we can get locked in for that announcement. And I think we are one of the only festivals that do it at the festival. It's quite a rare thing. Normally it's a few weeks or sometimes months before other festivals announce their following year's lineup. So I
don't think many have announced, have they, for next year yet?
2,000 Trees have announced one headliner. I think that's all I've seen that's been announced.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything. But for me, it was Infected Rain. As soon as that name came up, I was like, yes! Because I wanted to see that band for so long.
There's been some really good stuff on that. And the thing is, because I know who's coming next, we've got some great stuff lined up. I can't help it, because the thing is, like people, I always, even when I'm at the festival, like this year's festival, my head is at 24 because I'm already working on the lineup, and unfortunately sometimes I'm too busy thinking of the following year. So I have to be really, really careful when I'm doing interviews at 23 that I don't accidentally name drop.
Well, I've already sent you out an email from today for 25.
Yes, so
that one earlier. I've not said who, because we're not going to do that.
But... No. But we get a lot of emails. I mean, like now we're talking about the 25 headliners, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
But it's got to be done.
Just finished.
Yeah. Well, nuts. Good nuts.
Yeah, and good nuts. Great nuts. You can't say good nuts too easily.
My brain just went, is that what I just heard? That's why I didn't react first. And I was like, that's definitely what I heard.
Yes, again, it's Adam's fault.
I know what I meant. It's fine.
But obviously we do need to talk about is why we're here. The Sophie Lancaster Foundation. There is an amazing special relationship between Bloodstock and the foundation, and it grows every single year. And obviously this year you decided to bring back the pink t-shirts on the Friday to dedicate to Sylvia. What made you want to bring that back again this year after success last year?
You want to feel that one? Am I feeling that, or are you feeling that?
No, you can feel that. You can do that.
All right, okay. Well, basically, I think it just went down so well on the Sunday last year. The previous year, 2022. It was something that was great to see. There was a good turnout of people sort of taking part and wearing something pink. The relationship that we've had with the foundation has been, immensely important to us and everybody that comes to the festival. And obviously with Sylvia's passing, it's more poignant than ever that we sort of keep that going and we emphasize that relationship even further. And I think it's something that when the focus tends to sort of slip away, if you just do what you've always done to the fact that it's underplayed or understated, people can forget. And we don't want that. We want to keep reinforcing the message and reinforcing that relationship so that people keep that in mind whenever they're out and about, and they've got that support network that's around them and that's out there. And it's the backbone of one of the backbones for Bloodstock, I think, with the Sophie stage and the whole relationship that we've had over time. So we'll keep doing that and we'll keep trying to reinvent it. It's a solid relationship that we'll always support.
It's beautiful because obviously, same with the stage, like you put that out there, we're going to wear pink t-shirts for Sylvia and Sophie Lancaster. People who don't know that story then go, who the bloody hell Sylvia and Sophie Lancaster? Google it, and then they'll know that story. And I was saying to bands at the festival, you're playing that stage, people will go, who's Sophie Lancaster? They'll Google it, and it brings more eyes to it. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
And that's why we said that, we'll always keep the stage name the same. We may get a sponsor at some point that comes on board and wants to sponsor that stage, but it'll be Brand X supports the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, the Sophie Lancaster stage. That stage name will always be there, regardless of what happens. So, for us, it's something that we're going to continue to support. It means a tremendous amount to us, to everybody within the team and everybody that's connected with the festival, whether you're a fan, somebody that works there, a band or whatever. I think everybody who knows the story understands why we do it, and they're happy to support it. So we'll keep doing it. It's important work they do, very important work.
It is.
It is very important work, and it's great to see that people at the festival support it as well. Like every time we went past that tent, there was queues. I'm thinking, you guys are here every year, like giving them your money, buying those new wristbands every year, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah,
it really is amazing to see the support they get. It blows.
Yeah, and they had a good level of support from us this year. I think they had obviously the T-shirt amnesty and Rucksack. We had the charity donations that came through. The bar staff gave all their tips this year as well. And then Alan, the bar manager, said he'd match whatever the tips were. So that ended up costing him deep in his pockets as well. So, everybody, everybody understands why we do what we do, and they're happy to support it. So, we'll just keep on doing that. I think it's the good thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
It is. Yeah. And it's amazing to see the bands get on board as well. Like I saw clips of Ambrius dedicating their last song to Sophie and Sylvia. Gorilla said a small thing. And of course, what Skin did with the jacket as well. Yeah. Like, it's amazing that even the bands are getting on board.
I mean, Skin were very into it, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, bands are hugely supportive of it. It goes without saying. I mean, I know there's a couple of big bands at the moment behind the scenes that came to me. It isn't out there as public knowledge yet, that will be doing something in support of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation this year. So it's a huge thing. We make the awareness. It's like Billy from Biohazard when he did the jiu-jitsu in the arena. He actually had 3 buckets around his little thing, and he was like, anyone wants to put any donations in, it'll go straight to Sophie Lancaster. And he hit me up. He Googled it, and he was like, I've read all about why the second stage is called the Sophie Lancaster stage and all about it. He says it's absolutely broke my heart. He said, so I'm going to do this thing, and then if anyone wants to give money, we'll put buckets around the side. And he raised quite a lot with people just literally because he did it for sort of 2 hours as a little jiu-jitsu event. And it means bands are brilliant. I mean, I can't fault the bands that support it. And still now, there's a lot of bands that obviously play Bloodstock that play the Sophie stage that don't necessarily know about it. So it is raising the awareness constantly.
It is. Because obviously this was an issue that happened here in the UK, and a lot of the bands are coming from other countries, so they're not going to know about it. Like when we were interviewing the bands, quite a few of them, we said, do you know about Sophie's story? And they had no idea. They had to feel like they were shocked as well. Like people really taken aback about the story as well.
But this is things that happen in their own countries as well. You know, so this isn't siloed to the UK by any means. It's just the fact that we've got a situation that's raised its head, you know, that has now sort of gathered momentum with awareness that should be happening globally. You know, so the foundation needs to be accepted and needs to be promoted globally across all these bands. So the more bands that find out about this, that, you know, they've got big voices, you know, so they say something, their fans will listen. And I think it's important that they take that message away, you know, and you know, the more we can teach people globally, the better.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. That's something I say every week on the show when we're plugging them. I say this is not a UK issue. This happened in the UK, but it's not a UK issue. Absolutely. But I just wanted to take it back for you guys, because obviously you were raised in this world of rock and metal because of your dad as well. Were you guys ever treated differently growing up because of the music you listened to, the way you dress, whatever it may be?
Me personally, no. You know, I went to school with a number of people that were similarly into the kind of music that I was, but equally there was far more people that were into the modern pop, rap, you know, that kind of sort of popular music, if you like. And you'd get the odd comment, or a friend of mine would probably get the odd comment. I never personally, you know, I'm lucky to say, ever suffered with that. But I'm not a small guy nowadays, so people don't tend to say too much. But that shouldn't be the reason why. It should be a case that people don't say anything, quite simply because it's not their place to. But, you know, I've seen plenty of horror stories that people have been spoken to, adversely abused, just purely through music taste or the way they dress, or, you know, and it's deplorable.
I mean, I was very different to Adam. So at school, I was the kid. I wasn't in the popular clique of kids. So I sort of listened to grunge. Grunge was big when I was a teenager, so that's what I grew up listening to. So I had a nose ring and an undercut and wore Doc Martens and dressed in gypsy skirts, and people just didn't take to that because there was only a very few people at my school that dressed like that, me and my best friend being the main. So I was quite heavily bullied at school. So I know how it feels, absolutely how it feels. And that's, you know, that was just how I was. And I sort of, it sounds awful thing to say, I kind of got used to it and accepted it, because I thought, well, I'm never going to look like the popular girls, and I'm never going to look different to how I look. So I 100%, this is why I guess for me it's quite raw. Even now, you know, I see sometimes the girls that are fully grown adults now that used to bully me at school, and, you know, I don't know them anymore personally, but I still sometimes think, do they know the profound effect it can have on somebody when they're victimized or they're bullied or they're treated differently? So absolutely.
It's horrible. And the worst part about that is the fact that you went, I'm expecting this now. Like, we shouldn't have to expect it.
No, and I think because I knew that I was in a minority of the way I dressed at school, you know, there weren't many of us that dressed at that time like, you know, we're going back to the 90s. So you're going back 30 years. So wearing the sort of, you know, the whole grunge era, it was a certain look, which everybody that lived through that era knows what that look was like. And it was very cool, and it still is. But it shouldn't have really mattered, is the point. It shouldn't have changed people's opinion of me because of how I looked when I was at school.
But we live in different times now, I think, where people, they speak out. Whereas now, you know, back then, even 10, 15 years ago, people didn't speak out. It wasn't the right thing to do. There wasn't support for them. You know, they felt very isolated and on their own. You know, me personally, you know, if I ever saw somebody from our community being abused, then certain people would see a different side of me, because I hate that level of bullying. I can't stand it. You know, and it angers me. It really does. It makes me, you know, see red, which is, you know, not a great thing to do. But yeah, we live in different times, don't we? I think, where people are prepared to now say, no, that you're not doing that. You know,
I think well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because back then, when we were growing up, you didn't have social media, so it was more of a physical name-calling type thing. Now you've got the double-edged sword, which is horrific, of it being physical to your face and online, which that can be all-consuming because you can't get away from it. Because when it's online, it's coming into your home. Whereas when I was bullied, and I'm not playing it down, you know, I was at school and I felt that when I got home, I was in a safe environment because nobody could touch me. But now you've got social media, it makes it
You're accessible all the time.
Yeah, you're accessible. You're accessible all the time.
I think people live online, don't they? They live their lives very much on social media. So everything about them becomes social media. They become a far easier target from the cowards that quite simply will be sitting somewhere in a little dark room, you know, feeling themselves to be, you know, emotionally massive because they can be abusive to people they'll never meet. But they don't understand and appreciate the impact that has on people. It's horrific, you know. But you then get the element of people that have got that mentality that will then take it out into the street, as is what happened with Sophie. You know, it's horrific, and that's why it needs to be stamped out at all levels.
Absolutely does.
From all the bands we spoke to, it was like, oh yeah, it happened to me when I was younger. Like I got jumped by 20 people, 10 people, 8 people, 15 people. It's never one person. It's always a mass of people targeting one person.
It's feral.
It's
it's feral behavior, you know, and it's that you see it now, and it's normally a big grown guy, you know, or a big grown woman is less likely to be involved in that kind of behavior. This is very much of a sort of whether it's considered to be a masculine coming of age or something like that, where they've got to gang up. And it's, you know, the fact is that as a minority group, you know, the sort of the metalheads and the alternative community are the easier target, they feel. You know, I always sometimes wonder, I think, you know, well, I'm sure if they tried that on, you know, an outlaw or a Hell's Angel, if they'd have the same kind of response or outcome, you know. The outcome might slightly differ, but it's you know, they'll pick their targets because they're weak themselves, you know, and they're only in their own minds tough and hard when they're billowing the feathers in front of 10, 15 people that stand behind them.
Would they do that if they were on their own? And
no, absolutely
often you'll find that when you're shouted at in the street or whatever else, it's normally somebody that's with other people. They'll very rarely do that on their own. In case I now will confront anybody that has anything to say. If you have something to say, you have to be able to say it to my face. But I was never like that as a teenager, obviously. And I've got a friend who's actually doing quite an interesting thing at the moment. She has her own business, which is an online business, and she gets sometimes heavily bullied with awful comments on her posts, which she started sort of ignoring. But she's a very strong individual. But she actually started looking at some of these people that were actually making these comments to realize there were a lot of parents with children. So she actually thought, well, I'm going to do a tester, because some of these comments were horrific and they were public comments, so they weren't messages to her. So she actually started clicking on their profiles and screenshotting them and sharing their profiles on her page to say these are the kind of people that make horrific comments, and some of these are clearly with their own children. And we're in a society where nobody's accountable, so it's very easy to abuse somebody, think no more about it, and think it has no consequence. Well, that's not correct. There is consequence for when you do something hateful or nasty to somebody else. There has to be.
Absolutely. And no one's born a bully. They learn it from somewhere.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I think, you know, because we're such a connected society now digitally, I think a lot of people see stuff that ordinarily they wouldn't be exposed to. You know, and I've got children myself, and I've seen some of the stuff that's popped up in their social media networks and things like that. And it's horrific, some of the stuff that they get to see. You know, and I think so. It's, if anything, at the moment, our battle against prejudice and hatred is probably as hard as it's ever been, because it's not behind, as Vicky said, you know, just in the streets anymore. It's behind closed doors in your own home. You know, and I think that's the battle we've got, and it's the regulators that need to stamp that out with the social media networks and everything else to ensure that people are safe, kids are safe, and they don't learn these behaviours, because that's ultimately where it's going to come from. And parents have to take responsibility for their children to ensure that they are growing up to be good kids.
Absolutely.
Treat people as you expect to be treated. You know, that's my motto. And I think, you know, if you can do that, if we all did that, we'd live in a lovely utopian society, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Like it's weird, because in some aspects it is getting better. Like I remember at some point you couldn't get a job if you had tattoos below your forearm. But now you can. Like I've been into a bank and the guy's like covered in tattoos. So in some aspects it's getting there. But and then others, like you're saying, with online bullying, there's still so much work to be done as well. And I mean, that's so important to highlight that it's not gone anywhere.
My only concern is when I see things like that, that it isn't just a tick box exercise by a PLC or a corporation to say, oh yeah, look, we've got a tattooed guy, or we've got a trans person, or whatever it may be, and they're not just doing that to tick a box. And that's actually the mentality behind their own mindset as a business now, that they are actually physically open to sort of welcome everybody in. You know, I've got tattoos. You know, if I finish doing festivals, am I going to get a job? I hope so. You know, it's one of those things that you always think about, and everybody always does. And you know, both my kids, well, sorry, my oldest child, she's got tattoos all over herself, and you know, she's in a good job. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there are pockets of tolerance that are starting to shine through, and that is great to see, because 10 years ago you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't get into a suited job with a tattoo, not at all. So you know, are we going the right way? I hope we are. I hope we are. I just think social media is allowing us to have another blockade that we've now got to also overcome, digitally as well as physically. But we shall continue the good fight.
Absolutely. Yes, and we do need to. And what I was saying earlier about family, like at Bloodstock, one thing I noticed, there's a lot of kids there.
Yes,
like, so many kids. I heard stories about 9-year-olds starting circle pits in the New Blood stage, like phenomenal.
Them young. The thing is, we are one of the only festivals, especially because it's heavy metal as well, that has children. Like, and I'm not even, people say to me, well, how young? And I'm like, look, a woman brought a 4-month-old baby with ear defenders on. I mean, I go to a lot of music festivals and gigs. It's very rare I see families with toddlers, but that's how, thankfully, and you know, we're humbled by it, that's how safe people feel when they come to Bloodstock, that they can bring their entire family. You know, I met a girl
because I was going to say, it's nice as well because the teams engage with that. You know, some of the teams in the New Blood stage, they got the circle pits going with the toddlers. You know, so they felt part of it, and I think that was such a lovely thing to do. So it was, you know, seeing things like that is fantastic.
We had Stan, and obviously the kids loved meeting Stan this year because he was walking around and he was getting mobbed by the kids for photos, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. Because these kids will have. I met a teenager now this year who was 18, and he's been coming to the festival since he was 6.
That's amazing.
And
amazing.
It's just, and he's like, you know, I'm coming on my own now with my mates. He's like, but my mum and dad brought me, and I'm like, that's brilliant. That is what it's about.
That is exactly that. That is exactly what it's about. And those are the people we need to now look after, because they're part of this community. They're those young people. They're going to be Sophie's age. They're going to hopefully be playing those stages one day. So one of the questions that the foundation asked us to ask people when we're doing it is, what do we think we could do going forward to help protect those as they're coming up, if they're experiencing what Sophie had to go through?
I think personally we need to do a lot of work with kids on social media, because I think one of the biggest problems kids are coming up against, whether they're being taught it or they're experiencing it themselves, is social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or whatever it's now called, you know, Snapchat. Yeah, exactly.
MySpace.
I think MySpace. Yeah, Adam. There we go. That's where Adam's at. But I think that's where parents need to step in and be really mindful of what the kids are doing. You know, I think I'm very against kids at a very young age having certain social media platforms. I also think there needs to be a lot of online awareness, shall we say, of bullying, because I think the problem is the online bullying side of things is so horrific. You know, and I see it. I use platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and unfortunately, I see it. And I often step in to make comments, but when you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people abusing somebody, you know, this is, I think, a huge problem that I don't think even people realize how big the problem is.
No.
They should do that. You know, YouTube have YouTube Kids. They should have Facebook Kids and X Kids and Insta, you know what I mean? And people over a certain age can't access it. There's got to be a way that they can stop older people from going on, you know, I mean, that's keep predators away and that sort of thing. But I didn't know how to word that then. Sorry, my brain was going, how do I get around this?
I know, no, you're right. And especially TikTok, because TikTok's the worst, because you can literally find anything on there. I mean, and that's what you've got to be really careful of. And there is no sort of screening, because all it asks you for when you register is how old are you. There's no proof required. And I think parents need to be really mindful of what their kids are seeing, because there's some horrible stuff on the internet. We know that.
Oh yeah, that absolutely is. I've got small children myself, so I'm always sat next to them. If I see them doing stuff, I'm like, just making sure. Because especially with TikTok, you watch one video of something, then your feed is full of that for the next 20 minutes.
Yes. Exactly.
I try not to watch it, if I'm honest. I just, I've seen my wife there, and I wake up in the middle of the night. She's there at 3 in the morning. What are you doing? Watching a TikTok video that she probably started an hour ago.
The problem is TikTok's very addictive. It is very. So you're innocently starting a scroll for 5 minutes, and then 4 hours later, you're just on a rabbit hole of whatever. So it is a problem.
Well, I think social media is a problem across many sort of facets. But I think as regards to the Sophie side of things, the big thing for me is the awareness. Getting it in front of everybody, and it's the communication networks and the channels that we can then sort of influence, I guess, with the right level of messaging. And it's got to be done in such a way that will sort of help to engage people as well. It's got to be upbeat, and it's got to be the right kind of message that goes out there. So it's all about the comms for me, I think, in sort of getting it in front of people. I think what the foundation are doing, getting in front of young kids and doing the seminars and bringing it to sort of government sort of attention, etc., I think is vital, absolutely vital. It's got to be tackled from the highest possible level, and it has to be a zero tolerance approach. It's got to be. As I think as the justice system is broken. With a lot of these punishments, they aren't fitting of potential crimes. I think, from the criminality side of things, people feel they can get away with a lot more for a lot less of a punishment if they get one at all. It's not designed to sort of keep us safe. It's designed to sort of keep them safe, from whatever. But that needs a big overhaul. But we've got to start somewhere. And I think with everything that's happening with Sophie and the foundation, and with what you guys are doing and with what we're doing at the festival, it's a start, and that's all it is. It's a start. There's a lot of work still to do.
There absolutely is. And if we can achieve Sylvia's goal of getting it classed as one of the strands of hate crime,
yes,
that would help so much, so much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sylvia's done some incredible work, as have the foundation, and it's the saddest story to try and, but it's achieving the greatest thing.
Yes.
For all the wrong reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the foundation has to exist, but the fact that it does is incredible, because it's needed. And we need to keep pushing that out there in every way possible.
It absolutely is. And it's thanks to people like yourself who are flying that flag every single year that we're going to get this done. I have so much hope.
As you guys are as well. Don't underestimate your own impact of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate
it.
You're championing that cause and putting it out there. I think, collectively, as a collective, we can do it, and we will. We won't stop until like you said. And I think even when we achieve that goal, that's just phase one.
Find the next goal.
We'll keep going.
Absolutely. We'll start wrapping up now, but we did mention last year's announcements early, but there's one other thing I've got to mention. You legalise bin jousting for next year. I couldn't believe it. I was at work watching the live, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Well, look, Adam. It's all Adam.
You know what? You tell somebody not to do something, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use reverse psychology. If I say yes, no, go ahead, you can do it, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm kind of hoping that'll be the result. But just in case it's not, we do have to embrace it. But because they keep doing it, and we're not going to stop it, and we've tried for years, we've got to try and make it safer. Yes. So people that do it, they will have to sign a disclaimer to say they're doing this on their own, on their own backs, if you like. But we want crash mats on the floor. We want padding around the bins. We want, to make it as safe as possible for people that want to have a little bit of fun. Because if we don't, and somebody grabs a bin and, they've got a jaggedy edge because they've been bashing it together all weekend, and they get hurt, that's not fair on anybody. So it doesn't, we bought a load of inflatables this year in the hope that might sort of appease, but there's a few that like the bins.
They just love the bins. And the thing is, We'll see. I mean, I think we're one of the only festivals that even had. I don't even know why it started bin jousting, but it
So
has.
where did this
and here
even
we
come
are.
from?
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
don't
How long? I mean,
know, we
festivals have
don't
been
know.
around for decades. I mean,
Nothing.
decades. We
Yeah.
start one, and bin jousting's a thing. So it's like, why us?
We don't know. It's not a good thing, obviously, but the
It is
fact
for
that
them.
when we announced it, we legalised it as well. Everybody was so happy. I've never seen so many smiley faces on a Facebook Live when we told everybody it was legalised. So we'll see how
Yeah.
this year goes.
We've still
a
got
lot
some
of
hoops to jump through with health and safety, though. They've not approved it yet, but
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
be fine.
we've done our usual. Oh, go on, it'll be all right. We'll do it.
What's the worst that can happen?
Get a referee. Get a referee
Yeah.
now as well.
We've got one. We've got one.
Amazing.
Yeah. He's
And we've got teams and everything.
Amazing.
There's going to be rules. There'll be a whole. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you can tell by Adam's voice. There's already regret.
I was about to say that you can see the regret on Adam's face already.
No, it's going to be
because
great.
Adam's been worn down and tired with it. He's just fed up with it now.
I'll never forget. Like, it's 2022. Me and Tom were old souls. We were trying to sleep, and all you could hear was. Oof, I was like, I fucking hate bin jousting so much. I just want to sleep.
We need to make sure that we maintain it and sort of keep it in the one campsite as well. And I think that's the other thing, because what they were doing, because we kept moving all the bins out, they'd go around all the different campsites in a group of 200 or 300 looking for bins. So it was like it wasn't unfair on everybody else. And we actually had a bit of a coup this year. So one of our overnight manager basically hid all his lanyards on his high vis and everything and walked around with the group thinking, if they get a bin, I'm going to take it off them. So they did about 3 or 4 different campsites, found this bin, marched it back to the main campsite, and just as they're about to set up, took out his high vis, put on his badge, and went, "Thanks, lads," and then just walked off with the bin.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, but they are a persistent bunch. I've got to say that fair play to the fans. They're very persistent, and if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that your way of saying you're going to take part?
No, not at all. No, you can take that to the bank.
We'll have one little go. We'll have one.
No, I won't even do that. No, I'm just going to literally just unlock the bins and walk away. So just let the referees do their job.
You wouldn't even need a bin, Adam. You just stand there and just like crush into you. Like, is that all you got?
Don't give them ideas.
Sorry.
We'll be back in production next year with the bin saying, "Where's Adam gone?" Yeah, we saw this on the podcast you did. No.
I don't know what you're talking about. What podcast?
I'm working from home next August.
Guys, thank you so much for this. It means the absolute world. Like, really important that we really wanted to get you guys on this vlog that we're putting together ready. So it really means a lot you took the time.
Thank you for having us. It's been really great. So thank you for that.
It's been lovely.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you definitely in a field next August.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And
you. All right, guys. See you soon.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh no, I don't want to do that one. No.
I just had the image of this like important message about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation and Vicky's the moon.
This is what my life's like, honestly. This could be the outtakes.
Yeah.